Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney and today I've got, I feel like I'm throwing a new little series at you guys here, rapid fire a little bit, but I don't know, I was just thinking about fun things that, make the summer just a little bit different, a little more carefree, a little more relaxed, and I thought doing a little series on sewing the trends might be kind of fun. So this is a little different than Sew the Look, although I'm going to be doing some of those I think here really soon, because I know a lot of people like those and I really like doing them as well. But sewing the trends is going to be more of, here's a certain trend that, we're seeing in ready to wear and that kind of thing right now, and this is how I'm interpreting it. I thought that might be kind of fun. There's a few different, as everyone's starting to come out of their cocoons a little bit this summer after last year, there's a few, just kind of notable trends, I guess. Once again, I am not a fashion person. I totally just listen to a whole bunch of different podcasts, YouTube videos, and that kind of thing on finding, for people to tell me what are the trends. Now, all of these that I'm going to be doing are ones that I can actually see in ready-to-wear shops that I like. I don't shop ready-to-wear, like hardly at all, but these are shops whose aesthetic I really enjoy, and even places I used to shop when I used to buy ready-to-wear clothing. So anyway, today we're going to be talking about matching sets. But before we get into that, I do want to say today is Friday, and Love Notions does do a Feature Friday pattern pretty much every Friday. Not every Friday, but almost every Friday. And this week it's a boys pattern because they not only have women's patterns, they have a few men's patterns, and they have little people patterns, so young girls and boys and babies and all that kind of stuff as well. So today's pattern are the Kayak board shorts. So cute. Obviously we're coming into summer. If I've not made the pattern, I just don't have anyone to sew with that's that size. I mean, I do. I have my nephews, but I just don't sew a ton for them. I do some for my nephews and my niece, but not a ton. They live 500 miles away. So anyway, it's just hard to get measurements and all that stuff. And even when we do see them, remembering is difficult. And my sister cannot take measurements to save her life. So anyway, I've seen a lot of really cute iterations. I've seen people make it both in knit fabrics, just for like comfy shorts, so just like a really easy short to wear for little boys or girls for the summer, and also as using board short fabric, which is, you can get that at Fabric Fairy in a few different places. It's basically swimsuit fabric that's woven, so it's not like the stretchy stuff for, like one-piece swimsuits or bikinis or that kind of thing. This is like what swim trunks are made out of, kind of that, just a woven polyester, I'm assuming. There's probably maybe some nylon in there, but yeah, so it dries quickly. Anyway, wanted to pop that on there. There'll be a link to the pattern down below if that's something that interests you, or definitely on Instagram. Love Notions always highlights a few of the makers that have made that pattern recently. I'm just not one of those this time because I don't have anyone to make that for. Okay. And, they're $5 right now. The Feature Friday patterns are $5 just for Friday, so it's only for today. That pattern will be on sale for $5. So it's just definitely worth it to check back on Fridays and see what they've got, because some of their patterns just have such a bang for your buck. There's just so many options. Okay, so let's get into talking about matching sets. So in the winter and fall, probably a little last summer as well, matching sets was huge, and most of it was, I think, kind of stemmed from like loungewear sets. So matching joggers with sweatshirts and knit shorts with sweatshirts or t-shirts that match, just kind of just a little fun. And this has been, again, something especially since 2020 kind of happened. A lot of matching bottoms and tops, most of it being loungewear. But as spring and then now summer are coming through, you're still seeing that. You're still seeing some loungewear type sets. And as I'm talking, I'm going to pop pictures up of things that I have found online. Most of them are from, let's see, J. Crew, Madewell, Everlane, where else? Anthropologie maybe. I think there's maybe a couple of there from Anthropologie. I can't remember. I went to a whole bunch of different sites. I just can't remember which ones I pulled. However, I do have a link to my Pinterest board down below. So if you're interested in going to the original source for any of these pictures, they're all on that Pinterest board and it'll take you right to the original source. I did pin a few from just Pinterest in general, but most of these came from shop websites that I just really like their aesthetic. So anyway, I'll have those rolling as I'm talking. But there's definitely, you still are seeing that, like lounge, obviously as we're going into summer, lounge shorts, tanks, t-shirts, even some sweatshirts that are all in matching fabric, which obviously as a seamstress is super easy to recreate. Now, I love this trend. Number one, I think it's just fun to have matching tops and bottoms. It's just a little more current right now. You're just seeing it, so I feel like makes me feel a little more on trend and yeah, kind of with it a little right now. But I also love matching sets because they're super easy to mix and match with other pieces. So not only do you have a top and bottom that go together, obviously, because they're the same fabric and they match, but you can also then, especially if you're working in a color palette, shoot off that, and then you've got, the top that you can wear with a few different of your pair of shorts, and then the same with the bottoms. You can, the shorts, or whatever bottom you're using, pair that with a whole bunch of the tops from your wardrobe. So it just makes a lot of sense in a capsule sense as well. And if you use a print, and not all of these that I'm showing you are prints, but if you do use a print, that makes it really easy to pull your color palette from for your whole little mini capsule module, whatever you're making at the time. I love doing that. I mean, they pay designers thousands and thousands of dollars to come up with these fabrics and stuff for these designers, and so they all have background knowledge in making really good color palettes. So it's definitely, you don't want to overlook that, Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about the two pieces that I have decided to use for mine. So I'm just really love, hold on, we will in just a second. What I really love about the two-piece sets, now you're seeing right now skirts with tops that match as well as shorts with tops that match. I was more interested right now in really loose-fitting shorts, flowy shorts with matching sleeveless tops. Or even, I was also thinking like maybe a top with a sleeve. I did decide to go sleeveless on this one, but I was up in the air until kind of last minute. Now, you are also seeing a lot of like crop tops with skirts and or shorts. I mean, a crop top is very in. And that's the other reason I wanted to do this series. And I wanted to kind of highlight some trends that are happening right now and how I'm going to translate them to my closet. I'm 41 years old. I've had twins. I didn't even rock a cropped top, really, even in a little bit, but even in the 90s when I could rock a crop top when I was in high school. I never did the really short ones. I have a very short waist, so it's hard for me to show off too much of my midsection anyway, just because there's not much there. But I would wear them where maybe just like a little sliver of my skin was showing above my jeans or my shorts or whatever in high school when I could do that. So I'm certainly not going to be walking around in a bra top, basically, with shorts and a skirt. If you're into that, yes, you do you. That is fantastic. But that is just not something I'm personally going to be doing. However, I can look at those pictures and that inspiration and then bounce off that. So I do like cropped tops, and that I'm wearing my Cielo right now, my closet core Cielo. I would consider this a cropped top. Does it show any of my skin? No. But it's short enough that I would not wear it with any of my lower rise shorts. Like I would not wear this shirt with my Chi-Town chinos because it would probably, the bottom of the shirt would probably just barely cover the top of the waistband on those shorts. Now all of my elastic waist shorts I'm currently making that hit at my natural waist, we're good to go. If I lift my arms like way over my head, you may see just a little sliver of skin, but that's, I don't really walk around like this very often, so for the most part, we're safe. That's as cropped as I want to go. Although I didn't even really go cropped on this one. But I did like, obviously that is a trend. So now how do I translate that trend into something that I am going to wear as a 41-year-old mother. And, you know, and just to fit my style. I mean, this can go, maybe not even so much age, but also just your own personal style. Like if things are kind of going a little bit more bohemian and you're more of classic or vice versa, you know, how you can take that trend and still translate it into something that fits your own personal style. So that is kind of, I wanted to kind of delve into that a little bit with this So the Trends type of videos as well. So I'm looking at proportion and that kind of thing, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as well, but yes, this is how I'm translating a matching sets into my wardrobe. Now, I did come across a few sets that I would totally, you know, I would possibly buy. Most of them, though, because of my chest, would probably become much more cropped than what I would want them to do, so obviously making is just always the right answer. Okay, so now let's delve into my matching set. I will pop up pictures of me, well, we'll wait. I'll pop up pictures of me in the bottoms while I'm talking about the bottoms, then I'll pop up pictures of me in the top while I'm talking about the top, and then I'll pop pictures of me in the matching set together. All right, so the fabric. For the bottoms, let's talk about the fabric first. The fabric is a rayon Georgette from the fabric store and the New Zealand store, and I bought it, and I bought 4 meters of it because I loved it so much. This is all the colors in my capsule that are in this fabric. It's so good. It is pretty lightweight, so I lined my shorts. I don't know if you can see my hand a little bit. You can kind of see the shadow of my fingers up there. So I did line the shorts. It's not horribly see-through. I didn't line my top, and I don't feel like I need to, but I did line my shorts, and we'll talk about that more in a second. Now, Georgette fabric is nice to sew with. I love silk Georgette. And the difference between that I'll talk about in just a second. Georgette's nice though because it kind of has a crepe texture. So when you are sewing with it, it grips. Whereas if you're using like a charmeuse or something with a satin finish, not only can the fabric be shifty just because it's a lightweight fabric, woven loosely, but also when you throw in the satin, it makes it really shift when you put 2 layers together to sew. Georgette's nice because of the crepe type texture. It kind of grips. The same as I would say for like a silk chiffon, a crepe de chine. All of those are really nice because they do grip. That makes them a little bit easier to work with. Now, when you're talking the difference in the thicker you get in fabric, the easier it is to handle as well. So a single Georgette, which is what this is, just a regular old Georgette, is a little trickier to handle than like a double Georgette. So my knit-knee top that I did was a double Georgette, and it was silk. The other thing is, silk is a very lightweight fiber, so it doesn't have a lot, you can have a lot of yardage of silk and it feels very, very light. Now, you have that same yardage of rayon and the same, you know, also a Georgette. It is much heavier. And that's just the nature of the fiber of silk versus rayon. So because rayon is a heavier fiber, it will, and when you're using a looser weave like a Georgette, it will pull out of shape so much easier than its counterpart in silk, just because of the weight of the fiber. So you've got to, I mean, I would stay stitch silk as well, but you've got to like immediately stay stitch the rayon Georgette. Now, was it tricky to sew with? A little bit, but again, it wasn't like sewing with a real lightweight, you know, satin rayon Bimber lining. There you go. It's not like sewing with Bimber. That stuff moves all over the place, which is a rayon satin finish lining. But what I did was, for the shorts, for instance, is I put my fabric, and I did cut it out, doubled up, and got everything, you know, nicely on grain, and you just have to, you know, put weights down, so, because one, like, person walks past it, and it, like, the top layer will, like, move, and it's like when tissue paper goes flying. So you do want to, you know, get it on grain, then get it all nice and weighted down, but I did cut it out on a double thickness. So I cut out my, you know, I laid my pattern pieces out, and we'll talk a little bit more about the pattern and how I adjusted the pattern, but I laid the pattern pieces out, and just to make sure everything, you know, I wanted to use my fabric as economically as possible, cut out the back, and immediately picked up the back, took it to the sewing machine, sewed the crotch sewed the center back crotch curve, then serged it, and then very carefully laid it aside. Then I went and cut out the front again, immediately picked it up, and because I had put my fabric right sides together, the pieces were already right sides together. So I went to the sewing machine, sewed the center front, you know, crotch seam, serged it. Then immediately went and did my, I didn't worry about stitching the waistline because there's elastic, so I wasn't, you know, worried about it really stretching out much because the elastic will bring everything back in. But for my waistband, I actually cut a big, long strip of fabric, and then I cut out my interfacing with my pattern piece. And then I fused the interfacing on grain onto just the big piece of fabric, and then I cut the fabric out once it was interfaced. And that kept everything nice and stable, and I didn't have any problems. So that was the trick with this, and I'll talk a little bit more about what I had to do with the top. So again, it's trickier to sew. I mean, it's a rayon Georgette. Now, I also lined these shorts. This is the rayon crepe, also from the fabric store in the color Pollen. I love this so much. I'm gonna be making, I love this color. And it goes really well with this, as you can tell, with this print. But I just had it out and I thought, oh, that'll be perfect just to line it. So let's talk about the pattern just a little bit. So I used the Samara pants from Itch to Stitch Fabrics. Now the Samara pants are a palazzo style pant, very wide legged, meant for like rayon crepes and, you know, all those kind of things with a lot of drape. But it has a fitted waistband, it has darts in the back, and then it uses a side zip to zip it up. I wanted these, I really wanted that nice wide like skirt feel leg, but I wanted to be able to do elastic on the waist. Just like I mentioned, my waist just doesn't want to do a lot of fitted waistbands right now, and I wanted them to be comfortable and just easy to throw on and off. So what I did was I omitted the back darts, so I left them in there, but I just didn't sew the back darts. And then I went up from the hip curve, and you can kind of tell on the pattern when you're looking at it where it starts to like kind of go in a little bit towards the waist. I went just straight up from that. And the same with the center back and the center front. I tried to keep it on grain, but I just went straight. It tilts just a little bit in towards the inside and went straight. Now I think I only added like on one, with the center back, like maybe a ½ inch at the back, but then that's a full inch when you consider ½ inch on each side. And the same with the front. And then I added, gosh, I think all in all I ended up adding, because if I just omitted the darts and sewed that as is, I think it was gonna be a 36.5 inch waistband, which is plenty for my waist, but that would not get up over my hips. My hips are 38.5 inches. So that's what you have to take into consideration when adding an elastic waisted waist, you know, if you want to make pants pull on, you have to make sure that waistband can get up over your hips. So I knew I needed to add a little bit. So by straightening out the side seam on the front and the back, and then straightening out the center back and the center front crotch curve, I was able to get up to 40.5 inches, which was, you know, that was an extra, it was plenty to get up over my hips without straining anything. So that's all I did. And then I cut the pattern off at, I think I gave myself a 5-inch inseam, and I went up from the bottom of the pattern because there's a nice curved hem at the bottom of the pattern. So I measured up from the hem with a yardstick and just, you know, figured out, okay, I went from the top, I went down my 5 inches, and then I measured up from the bottom to the 5 inches to figure out, you know, what that distance was. I can't remember off the top of my head. But then I just went around and kept that measurement, measuring from the hem up to get my length for my shorts, so I could keep that curve that matched the curve of the pants. And that's it. It's a front and a back. I cut out the lining of front and a back, sewed 2 pairs of shorts, put them inside of each other, basted them at the top, and then added an elastic waistband. There's my Tomcat Stitchery tag. And then for the hem, I hemmed the lining of the shorts 1 inch shorter than the outside of the shorts. I just did a rolled hem stitch on my serger. Do you guys ever use this? It's such a beautiful hem. We used to use this one to hem, when I worked in the bridal workshop, we used this for bridesmaids dresses a lot that had like multiple layers of chiffon. We would just do the rolled hem on the serger for all the different layers of chiffon because it would help weight it a little bit, because chiffon will jump when you take off, when you are hemming. If you cut off too much, it will jump even higher just because the weight, you know, releases. So doing a rolled hem is it's easy and it's a nice finish. I have some water soluble stabilizer for like embroidery and that kind of thing that's in my stash, and I just cut strips of it and put that on top of the fabric when I was doing it, and so that it just makes a beautiful finish. So I did that on both the hem of the lining and also the shorts. Again, there's an inch difference in those hems so that the lining's not going to poke out, and it just gives a nice weight. It kind of looks like it hangs out. I promise it doesn't. All right, now with the length of the shorts, I made the shorts, put them on, and made the top, which I'll show you in a second. And I went out and I was like, okay, kids, like, what do you think? Are these shorts a little too long? Because they aren't very fitted in the crotch. So even though I normally like a 5-inch inseam, I didn't have any hem allowance also, but because the crotch it's supposed to be a little bit lower just because of the nature of the swishy pants. So I had them, I folded up one leg and I was like, okay, which one looks proportionally better? And we had a great conversation. My kids are getting to an age where we can talk about proportion and what looks better, and maybe it's not necessarily the length, maybe it's the width, maybe it's, other things. Anyway, I ended up taking the hem up another 1.5 inches on the main shorts, and then obviously 2.5 inches on the lining because I wanted it to be an inch shorter so that nothing pokes out. I love these so much. They're so loose and cool to wear. They're going to be fantastic as the heat sets in. Yeah. And the other thing, I mean, rayon has a reputation is what I'm trying to say for wrinkling, but because of the nature, it's all gathered in to the elastic of the waistband, which the elastic has gathered it in. I didn't gather anything. It's just, the nature of the elastic. You really can't tell. And the crepe nature of the Georgette keeps it from really looking like wrinkly. So comfortable. Okay, so those are the shorts. Now, for my top, I went with the Harmony blouse by Love Notions. And I actually printed off the pattern to be worn with, or to make it with a short sleeve. And I actually ended up keeping it sleeveless. After I made it up, I just liked the proportions and everything with the matching set with it sleeveless. And what I love about this pattern is that they have 2 armholes that you can trace off on the bodice. You can do the sleeveless armhole. It's not just you just omit a sleeve. It's a different cutting line on the arm side, which is correct. So I made the sleeveless just to keep things simple. And oh my gosh, now this fabric again was shifty. I immediately took things over, I cut out the top and immediately took it over to the sewing machine and stay stitched my neckline and my armholes. And then I sewed my darts, and then I went back, cut out the back, immediately took it over, stay stitched my necklines, my armholes, and then sewed up the center back seam. Because this is kind of like a swing top, so it's fitted in the bust, and I made the size medium with the full bust front. But it's real swingy through the body, so it's fitted through the bust and then real swingy. So in a drapey fabric, it's just gorgeous. I love this so much. Now I shortened the pattern by 1 inch before I even cut anything out, but then I ended up, did I shorten it anymore? No, I don't think I did. I just shortened the pattern by 1 inch, which is typical because I'm only 5'2", so I typically have to sew that. And then I made bias binding out of the fabric as well, and did just 1/2 inch double folded or single folded bias tape that I just made. Which this actually, even though it's really slippery fabric, because rayon presses so well, I just used my little bias tape maker and it came out just fine. So I did the neckline, that's the inside part of the neckline. It just looks so nice and neat. And the armholes. And then the hem has a little bit of a curve to it because it's a little longer in center front for the chest if you're doing the full bust front. And I did the hem tape on the hem, or the bias tape on the hem as well. I just like that. It's just a really nice finish. And I love the way it turned out. The back has a keyhole opening. It's kind of got a scoop neck. There's a keyhole opening that I finished off, and then I just had this button from my stash I thought went well, and I did a loop, thread loop for the button. So I could have I would have had to add some seam allowance. There's only 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on this top. On some of their other woven tops, she's done 1/2 inch seam allowances on the side seams and the shoulders, so you can do French seams. French seams would have been lovely on this, but there's only 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, so I didn't quite have enough to do that. I could have added, of course, more seam allowance, but I didn't. We just serged. It turned out fine. And I love it. I can't wait to wear this with all sorts of things, you know, not only shorts, but I really want to make a pair of wide-legged cropped linen pants in navy. But yeah, it's just so easy breezy. Really love it. Really pleased with this and how that turned out. You know, it's just a front and a back for that pattern, but it took me, you know, quite a bit, because you have to just go slower with the rayon fabrics. Like, they just need a little bit more tender touch. You can't just rip those through the sewing machine like you'd be able to a cotton lawn or cotton shirting or something. So you just have a little bit, you know, more of a gentle touch. But yeah, everything turned out well. Okay, so now I'm gonna put footage of me in the whole set. I love this so much. I can just see this. I mean, we're not going anywhere warm for vacation. We're going to Colorado with my family, which is really, it's like a hiking trip. I mean, that's the nature of that. I think the kids and the guys are gonna take a fly fishing class, you know, with a guide one day, and yeah, we're gonna just do a lot of hiking and outdoorsy stuff. So I don't know that this outfit will necessarily be worn on that vacation, but in my head, I'm thinking like beach vacation. What a great little like night out for dinner type outfit. I mean, I'll definitely wear it around here as well. I'm just kind of I'm ready for vacation. Aren't we all? It's okay. But yeah, I can see me wearing this both around the house. I'm gonna style it hopefully with a few different shoes, because I think with my Birkenstocks, it's great, makes it a little more casual, dresses it up a little bit with my leather sandals, and then you could go full, you know, fancy and put on a wedge, because that's about as fancy as we go. Because they are a nice loose fitting short, they almost read as a skirt a little bit. So I think you can get away with wearing them a little bit more dressed up. This would also be really cute for church. Now I would probably throw on probably my my Sinclair Patterns Harper cardigan if I were gonna be wearing this to church, only because like most buildings, the air conditioning gets ridiculous. So I would probably need a little bit of a wrap for that kind of situation, but I would definitely wear this two-piece set to church. In fact, I might wear it to church on Sunday. But yeah, I just think it's gonna go the distance, both wearing them separately and together. I just think it's a great idea and a really fun trend to try. And as we sew, you just need to buy a little extra fabric, and it's so easy to make a two-piece set in whatever proportion, whatever style. You know, if you want a shirt with a sleeve, if you want to make it knit, if you want to make it woven, if you want it to be a little more structured, you could do it in linen. Yeah, sky's the limit. So that's really one of the fun things about sewing, being able to interpret all these trends for your own personal style. Okay, this is a much longer video than I thought it would be. I was afraid this was going to be a little shorter. Nope, my chatting powers come through again. All right, guys, so that's all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and can get some sewing in. If you're following along with the Style Art Patterns Monty shirt and dress sew along, we're actually starting to sew this week, so that as part 2 is up on Sunday. And then on Tuesday, we have a new pattern release that I can't wait to share with you. It highlights another one of the trends for summer. And I can't decide if it's just going to be a video on the new pattern or if I'm going to talk a little bit and show you a few more of the trends. I can't decide if we're going to talk about the trends yet or not. And then Friday, next Friday, I will have another, it's a pattern re-release, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about sewing the trends as well and how I'm interpreting that in another garment. All right, that's all I've got for today, guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all next time. Bye.